Hello, hello. I'm Caley Rose, and I am a big fan of Patricia Bahia. Patricia Bahia is an award winning songwriter, multidimensional artist, cancer survivor, and coach. Her songs have been featured on NBC, ABC, MTV, all the BCs, Hallmark, shows like Hentified, Selling Sunset, The Circle on Netflix, and more. She is the queen of writing for sync, which is writing for film, TV, and commercials. And we'll talk about that. The LA Music Critic said it well when he said, "You cannot help but be uplifted and inspired by these tunes." I am a big fan of Patricia Bahia.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You look very
Great to
fab
see
today.
you.
So, Patricia and I met. We met at a songwriting retreat in Ojai
Oh, that's
few
right.
years ago.
Yeah.
I was super intimidated by you. I'm still super intimidated by you.
Oh, come on.
I like to be honest. But you're someone who, to me, it's funny because I was like going over interviews with you and stuff. And I was like, I wonder if Patricia has ever had a period in her life where she felt like she didn't have it all together as an artist. Like, did you ever make a bad song? Because I cannot imagine that.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, all the time. I think part of being an artist is being insecure.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know any artists who aren't.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, yeah, so I'm always
I would never
just
think of you that
trying
way.
to
I
do
mean,
my best and,
yeah.
just like, I don't
No,
know.
it's beautiful to hear that from you because I don't know, vulnerability is so interesting to see from people. And I don't know, I would never think that of you ever. So you don't come
Yeah.
across as that way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're rocking it. I
Yeah.
mean, you just said you just got another sync today, multiple, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
good things are coming through. So you've had your music in tons of shows, commercials, basically every network that exists, I feel like I named.
Pretty much. I'm sure, like, I don't think I've had the History Channel
Okay.
or, Animal Planet.
Okay.
There's a lot of like the networks that
Yeah.
I have yet to conquer.
There we go. Well, then we have some more lands to conquer. It's good for
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Were you always with a mind to write for film and television, or did the artist come first? The chicken or the egg?
Well, I didn't even know that that was a possibility.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a singer my whole life, and as a young girl, I expressed interest in songwriting
Mm.
and was yeah, I kind of got the message that I didn't have anything to say. I was too young. I was just a girl.
Really?
And I think well-meaning, but I took that to heart. When people who are important figures in your life say offhand things, they
Yeah.
sometimes don't realize
Yeah.
the effect that they're having. And so as a young girl, and also I think I was just constantly looking for somebody to tell me that I was good and that I could do this, like I had
Mm.
permission to do this. And what I've learned is that just never comes. Like
Mm.
you just have to do it
Yeah.
and somehow muster the belief in yourself.
It's like success begets success. And if you start to believe in
Absolutely.
yourself and portray an image of success, people start to believe it. It's insane.
It is
But
kind
people
of
need to be
crazy.
shown the way.
Yeah, yeah. So for the longest time, I just thought, well, first of all, I thought songwriting was some kind of thing you had to have a special gene.
Hmm.
You had to be like an instrumentalist. I mean, I don't know
Which you
where I
are.
got this idea, but I got the idea somehow early on, and maybe because, I was growing up in an era of like these virtuosic musicians,
Hmm.
songwriters like Stevie Wonder, like
Yeah.
Prince. So I thought, okay, well, if I want to write songs, I have to be able to play all the instruments and I
Yeah.
have to be a producer and I have to, and I didn't have any of that. And so I
Hmm.
thought, well, okay, that's just not something that I can do. I can interpret songs. So I was a
Yeah.
singer. I was a jazz singer. I was in a gospel choir, wedding stuff. And this is all on the side of
Huh.
being a lawyer
Huh.
because that's what my main career was.
Instead of
Um,
sleeping, you did all this.
no, instead of sleeping. No, but what happened for me is that I come from a family of professionals,
Hmm.
immigrants,
Hmm.
and my mom really, really wanted the girls to be self-sufficient. She
Hmm.
wanted us never to have to be dependent on anyone else
Hmm.
to, pay our bills and, live in our home and et cetera, et cetera. So she was very, very encouraging of us all becoming professionals.
Hmm.
So, when it came time to go to college, I maybe would have wanted to major in music, but
Yeah.
that wasn't one of the approved paths.
Huh.
You could be a doctor, a lawyer, um, maybe an engineer. Uh, as a woman, I don't think we were really offered engineer, teacher, you
Yeah.
know, maybe nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But professional musician was
Never.
not,
No.
no. And so I I went to school and, did what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to college, did a liberal arts major, went to law school, all the while, still loving music. And when I started practicing law, um, I just I couldn't not do music anymore.
That's incredible.
So I just started moonlighting, and I
Were you
started moonlighting.
practicing, like in the courtroom in
Oh
front of a judge
yeah,
and jury practicing?
yeah.
What kind of law?
I was a litigator,
Ha!
civil.
Oh my God, of course you were a litigator. Because you have that tough, smart, strong woman vibe, and that's how you write the music that you write. So it got you here, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, once I finally did allow myself to start writing songs, I had this just history,
Mm-hmm.
of life experience. And also I wasn't scared of the business part of it at all.
Mm-hmm. That
So
is something that I think probably set you apart in a huge way, being so
so like
business-minded.
contracts, I'm good with contracts. I can read
Yeah,
them, I know what they mean. Um,
it's a huge asset.
you know, uh I know that the people on the other side of the negotiating table are just people,
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah,
We're
because
all just human beings.
yeah, and
That's
so the business part of it doesn't scare me, and I'm really good at the administrative tasks.
mm-hmm.
So for better or for worse, I end up being the person that like registers the songs with
Yep.
ASCAP and makes sure that the splits are all
Yeah.
documented, and I do all the tagging in disco, like with all the
I'm usually
you
that
know
person too. I gotta.
the meta tagging and
Yeah.
the metadata and making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not that I love doing it, but it's not hard for me to do it.
You
And
just
for,
do it. You just
for a
don't
lot of
complain
other
about
people,
it. You do
I
it.
think it is. So I think the
Yeah.
law background, it's certainly it was a big detour.
Yeah.
You know, like
Did
that's not
people think
the
you were truly
logical.
insane? Like,
It's
did
not.
people try to stop you?
Oh, from being a singer.
Yeah.
Um, well,
Well,
my
when you switch from law.
oh well, okay. So it was very dramatic, actually, the
Mm-hmm.
way it happened. So I didn't write my first song until I had ovarian cancer.
No, I'm sorry.
So that's what it took for me
A wake
to
up
give
call.
to give myself permission to do what I had always wanted to do.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's how deep.
How many years ago was this?
2003.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
First song. Was it the saddest, darkest song you've ever written? Like, did you have to get
Oh,
all of that out of your system for a little while?
so yeah, my first few songs, I call them like when you make pancakes,
Uh huh.
like the first pancake, at least the first, maybe the first two.
Huh.
Like you're just kind of getting the grill warmed up, and it's just kind of like they don't really turn out.
They know. I always call them like pancake scrambles because I'm just like, well, I'm still gonna eat them, but
Right,
just
but yeah.
bits. Yeah.
So, for sure the first, I don't know how many, but definitely the first one was a pancake scramble for sure. Yeah. And when I first started writing songs, it was just because it was something I wanted to do. I
Mm,
didn't think about writing for other people or being an artist
mm.
or anything. I just wanted to do it.
Huh.
And
Which is
you
the best
know,
reason of all.
yeah. So uh but even after I had cancer, okay, this is the
Mm.
crazy part. So I'm on my back porch getting high to deal with the nausea. I actually had, this is before it was legal, but it was legal to do medical
Okay,
um,
good for you.
marijuana. So I actually had a license.
Ah, good
This
for
is
you.
back in the day where you had to go to a doctor
Uh,
and they had to look at all your medical. I brought in like a file like
oh my.
this with all my surgery and
Huh.
um, pathology reports and all the
Oh
stuff
my
about the chemo and all that. And I bring
goodness.
all this into the doctor, and I got my license. And interestingly, she, after looking at my file, she said, "Well, God must have some plan for you."
Oh,
Um,
oh,
because she was like, this is really amazing. And of course, she gave me my license.
oh.
And
What made her say that?
I guess because ovarian is just not, there's not many of us that survive it.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's
Mostly because it's
incredible.
not it's not detected early enough.
Okay.
The thing about ovarian cancer, and I want to say this because
Keep
I was
going.
one
It's
of the
okay.
lucky ones, and
Yeah.
um, I had symptoms for about 2 years.
What can I ask what
But
they were?
yeah, oh, there
Okay.
were, bloating, terrible cramps,
Huh.
bleeding at times when it wasn't my
Ah.
menstrual cycle,
Oh my goodness.
um, like cramps that would wake me up in the middle of the night,
Oh,
pain,
sorry.
writhing on the kitchen floor pain.
Oh,
And I was told, oh, you have irritable bowel syndrome, you have endometriosis, you have um,
everything except for that.
indigestion. I mean, it was
Yeah.
because the symptoms are very similar. Um, but there is actually a blood test. So if you have all these symptoms and you have a blood test that ranks, high,
Uh-huh.
it's called the CA 125. Um, when I was finally diagnosed, a normal CA 125 is like 5,
Okay.
6, 4, 8, maybe.
Huh.
I think mine was 150.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so and
Oh
I
my
actually met
gosh.
someone who's was 1500. I mean, it can go
Oh.
crazy high.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so so there's a blood test. It's not 100% reliable because apparently you can have false positives with it. So
Sure.
when I went to my doctor almost a year before I was diagnosed, for just a regular exam, I had gotten this random email telling me about the CA 125 from a nurse who had ovarian cancer. Like how I got on this email, I don't even know.
Huh.
And I took the email in to my doctor and I said, I want to get the CA 125. And she says, well, I'll give it to you, but, it has a lot of false positives and, blah, 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 blah. So, and I was very busy working as a lawyer, had a tech company that uh, worked with law firms, and I was the CEO, and
Wow.
like super busy. So I
Good for
put
you.
the lab slip into my briefcase, and I was there after hours because I needed to have a late appointment, and the lab was already closed. And then
Wow.
I promptly forgot and didn't
Uh,
do the lab test. And then it wasn't until the following year when I was
year.
finally diagnosed. It was probably about 8 months later.
Oh my
So not
gosh.
quite a full year, but um, that then I had I had an ultrasound that showed that I had this tumor, and then I had the CA-125. And,
Oh
even
my
so, though, I never thought I had cancer. Going into the surgery, I was convinced that this was going to be benign. Like, just this is my.
Maybe that helped you though.
Maybe it did. So my surgeon, the name of his business, like emblazoned on the outside of the building,
Uh,
Women's Cancer Surgery Center.
uh.
I still didn't think I had cancer.
But it probably helped you,
It
that
probably
mental
did.
denial.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I
I don't know.
cannot get over any of that. I mean, I agree. God had a plan for you.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh my gosh.
so anyway, uh, any people out there who have, female
Mm-hmm.
parts. So if you've got ovaries, and you're experiencing any of these symptoms, get it checked. That's how we figured it out, because I had to
Oh.
constantly go to the bathroom. I had to
Uh,
pee all the time.
oh
Like, it
my
just didn't matter if I
Yeah,
had just gone 10 minutes before. I did, because the thing was pressing on my bladder.
of course.
Yeah. So that's how we found it. Is I went in for a cold to my general practitioner, and I was like, so, I think I'm too young to have to start wearing Depends, but I'm really like, I'm having problems here. I just sort of mentioned that as an aside. Yeah.
And how long did it take you to recover? I mean, to make the cancer go away?
Well, I did 6 rounds of chemo, and by the end of it, I was pronounced cancer free.
Oh my
So, and
gosh.
that was the end of 2003.
Wow.
So I've been cancer free for that long.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
18 years? Is that math?
I know.
Did you write your first song during the cancer or after?
Well, it depends if we count any of
We count them.
those pancake
And I
scrambles.
think they're fantastic and you don't even realize it. Like I'm sure they are.
Oh no, I don't think so. Yeah, so I did write probably 1 or 2 songs
Huh.
while I was going through treatment. But I didn't, like, ever take a songwriting class or anything until 2004.
Okay.
That was my first, and that's when I really consider that I, started writing
Yeah, I
songs.
get that.
Yeah.
Was it USC or somewhere else?
Oh, I was living in the Bay Area at the time.
Ah, okay.
So it was with Bonnie Hayes,
Huh?
songwriting workshops at the Blue Bear School of Music.
Blue Bear. You did have a path to finding yourself. You didn't come out of the womb ready and business ready and all of those, because I
Oh
see you and
no.
I'm just like, Patricia has always churned out hits,
Oh
you know?
no. Oh
Even now,
no,
are
my
there songs
darling.
that you write that you're just like, nah, it doesn't make sense to record this? Because I feel like they're probably all winners right now.
Oh no, no.
Yeah.
So I usually write, I mean, since COVID, everything's kind of changed, but
True.
in most years, I usually write something like 50 or 60 songs.
Hmm.
And then of those, there's a small percentage that get recorded.
Which ones cut through? How do you determine which ones? Is it like, hey, I think this is really viable in the market, or hey, this really means a lot to me, or a combination of both?
Yeah, it's a little of both. So, the other thing is I collaborate a lot
Mm-hmm.
with other artists on their projects,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have several bands
Mm-hmm.
that I write with. And so, a lot of times, what ends up making a song get produced is sometimes just whether we're writing it with a producer in the room.
Yeah,
If you're collaborating with a producer, then the song gets produced
yeah,
because
that's pretty
that's
nice.
part of the process.
Pretty sweet deal, yeah.
But then there's the times when, it's like me and my co-writer, and we're just like this over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of us is playing a little guitar, piano, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and we're just writing it. And then we have to figure out who would be a good producer for this,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of, what's the style? Because
Mm-hmm.
a good song can be produced in so many different ways,
Oh yeah.
you know. Um, Seventh and Hope has a beautiful song called Keep the Light On, which is
Yeah, that.
produced in a very sort of electronic um, style, kind of electro pop.
Hmm.
But sort of in the, it's, I have so many lists of things I want to do, but one of the things I'd like to do is record that in more of an organic, um, I don't know if it would be Americana, but something more organic.
I have to say, I agree with you because when I heard you perform it acoustic and then I went to listen to the produced version, not that the produced version is lacking anything at all. It's just that it can work so many different ways that you want to hear it both ways and it will have great success in that way.
Yeah, so that's one thing I, kind of on my list. But
Hmm.
anyway, so what happens then, if there's not a producer involved in the writing, figuring out, what is the production style and who do we want to have, who do we want to work with, and
Hmm.
who can we afford,
Hmm.
or who might be willing to work on a reduced fee in exchange for
Hmm.
part of the master. Like there's all different ways of working the deals,
Yeah.
and so that's
Knowing
a lot of
information
it's
to
just,
make a deal.
yeah, there's a lot of happenstance to
Uh,
it. But then there's those songs that I just love and
hmm.
I just want to record them.
Yeah.
And if my co-writer is cool with me being the artist on it, then
Hmm.
sometimes we'll do that. Sometimes we'll have two versions.
Hmm.
um that can happen. So yeah, things. But yeah, I have a lot of
It
unrecorded songs.
it often kills me to think I'm going to die with songs that I'm still going to want to have made and voice memos that I'm not going to have been able to create and my list of titles that I just didn't make and there's no way to make every single one, even all of the ones that are important to you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's funny. I was talking in a songwriting class, someone was kind of struggling with what music to put out there. And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, I have to ask myself if I die tomorrow, what song would I have wanted to put out today? And you can't
uh
live like that all the time, but I
right,
would like to just put out exactly what I want to put out and not worry about extraneous influences.
right.
But it's hard because you also want to be successful. And I think there's a scale. It's like I can make music that only I like or that appeals to other people and that will be commercially successful, probably. But you also can't guarantee that.
You never know what's going to
No,
be
no, no.
successful.
Yeah.
um you know it's funny. Betty and I have, like, the first song we ever wrote together was one that we wrote at Ojai, actually, I
No
think a
way.
couple years before I met you.
Uh,
We were thrown together on a songwriting exercise and given 10 minutes to write a song.
I hate that exercise.
So everybody went off, and our instructions were really open, but it was
Hmm.
basically like, here's this established artist and they're looking for something for their next album. And this is
Hmm.
somebody who's been around. He's recorded with, famous people, and
Hmm.
he's looking for the next song for his next album. So Betty and I, Betty is my co-writer in Seventh and Hope.
Yay.
Just for those of you who don't know who I'm talking
Anybody's
about,
watching.
yeah.
Seventh and Hope is
Um,
Patricia's duo.
so we went off. We had never written before. We were the only two that came back with a full song. We wrote two
Wow.
verses and a chorus in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And this
Is
is
it
how,
recorded and released? Tell me that.
yes, this is
Really?
how, it's a song called Timeless,
Okay. Wow.
which was, fit the, the assignment.
Uh
And afterwards I said to Betty, this is really unusual,
huh.
to be able to just click like this and write so fast.
Yeah.
We should try writing more.
Hmm.
So she went back to London, where she lives, and we collaborated over FaceTime and wrote a whole EP. And then
Hmm.
she came to LA and we recorded it with Bill Leffler.
Hey.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But that song, it was the first song we ever wrote. And it's a
Hmm.
little, I think the song is really well written. I've never loved the production. It was the first one we did with Billy, and it was a little
Yeah.
bit of a pancake scramble. And
You
after that,
find mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And after that we sort of dialed it in, and I really love how all the songs turned out. But here's the
Hmm.
funny thing is, so that's the one that Betty and I both kind of are like, oh, we don't think it turned out that great.
Mm.
Um, I just got a royalty statement back that, that one got licensed.
Ha. That's fantastic.
So you just never know.
Well, when you're that good, you can think that it's bad and it can still be fantastic, basically, right?
Anyway, it was just so funny.
That's huge.
Because we were for sure that this
Yeah.
was like, we were almost not going to release it. We just didn't think it was up to snuff. And then it got licensed. So you just never know what's going to be commercially successful,
Yeah, and you might have
honestly.
someone reach out to you, through social media and say, "Hey, this meant so much to me. Thank God you released it." You
Yeah.
know?
So you just never know.
Yeah, it's funny too. I'm wondering if I'm sure that you have had this experience. But I do not even have nearly the credits that you do in sync. And sync, for anyone that doesn't know, is connecting a song to to picture. And so you
Mhm.
will say sync licensing and sync music because it's connected to film or television or commercials or something like that. But I will have people come to sessions with me and be like, I want to write for sync. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, yeah, let's like have a mind towards that because I had taken the Kathy Heller course and I was like, let's, have that be our aim. And now I'm just like, no, we need to write something that we care about.
Yeah.
That's just this, I,
I agree.
not shallow, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it needs to be something that one of us wants to sing publicly, cares about with all of our
Yeah.
heart and soul.
Yes.
It's the most important
100%.
thing ever. Have you had a lot of people sit down in sessions with you and be like, let's write for sing?
Well, one of the things I do is I mentor people
Yeah.
who are interested in sync.
Hmm.
And that's the first piece of advice I give to anyone
Yeah.
who wants to write for sync is not to write for sync.
Yeah. And
Basic,
people have a hard time,
yeah,
adjusting to that and
yeah.
believing it, I feel like.
But basically, what I tell people is, at the end of the day, you want to write something, and life is too short to
Yeah.
write something that you don't believe in, that you cringe
Yeah.
at, that isn't you.
Yeah.
So, bottom line, you want to write something that you can get behind as an artist.
Yeah.
And, while you're writing that song, um, there may be certain lyric choices, production choices that you could
Hmm.
make that could make it, fit sync more or less. And you
Yeah.
have to decide which direction you want to go, and still, no matter what choice you make, you have to still believe in the
Hmm.
song as an
Absolutely.
artist.
And there have been certain lyrics where it could have been more sync viable, but I've said, no, I need that detail in there for myself as an artist,
Yeah.
and that it was an important detail of that story. And then I made a sync version of that song, and then I, didn't worry about that lyric. But I think as an artist, the first responsibility is expressing yourself in that
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, a lot of your artist songs are, you connect to them and they're also viable in that way.
Yeah. So I think, I guess I'm kind of just lucky in a way that, the things that I like writing about are often on themes that
Yeah.
get asked for.
Yeah.
But one of the things I try to do, I'm sort of known for writing positive music, but
Hmm.
I really want to be able to express all parts of life, and it's not just always,
Yeah.
you know.
Certainly
I
not.
mean, yes, I'm happy to be alive, but I
Yeah.
have my blue days, I have my dark times, and I want to be able to express that and write about that too.
Yeah.
So, and I love a dark song.
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes, that's what we need, is like the catharsis of just
Yeah.
listening to something and crying through it. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I have my artists that I love to listen to when I'm in that place.
Hmm.
I mean, I love a good Damien Rice record.
Mm.
He
Yeah.
just knows how to break my heart.
Yeah.
um but I also absolutely love, like, the happy, like the Michael Frontes of the world, and
I love a Michael
Jason
Franti.
Mraz. I mean, I
Yeah.
just adore those writers and the way they can write a positive song that
Hmm.
isn't cheesy
Yes.
and isn't trite.
That
And
is the difference. Because
yeah.
I've written with you and I know that you have a high standard for lyrics, And so if something gets the cheese meter, and I think as human beings, our bullshit meter is very in tune. So if you're
Hmm.
listening to something and you're like,
Yeah.
no, that person doesn't really feel that way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we hate cheese,
Yeah. 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 For
and so
sure.
you have a great talent for getting away from that and getting past it.
Well, one of the things that I really strive for, and I think this helps, it's actually a concept from painting
Hmm.
from I don't even know what century, but it's an Italian term that they also use in opera called chiaroscuro.
Oh, okay. I'm an art
Right.
history major, so I know a chiaroscuro.
All right, so light
Yeah.
and dark, right? So when look at a painting that has the right balance of
Mm-hmm.
chiaroscuro,
Mm-hmm.
it's got the uplift,
Mm-hmm.
but it also has the dark
Yes, yes, yes.
in the same song. And it just, whether it's a dark song with a little bit of hope,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a happy song with a little bit of regret, or,
Uh,
you know, something a little darker in it, I
yeah,
feel like you got to have that balance.
that's life.
Otherwise, it's cheesy.
Yeah,
Or
and
otherwise, it's just slit your wrists like, it's too dark.
yeah,
If
I
it's
feel you on
just,
that.
yeah. So I try
That's a
at
great
every
way to think
dark
about it.
song that I write to just still have some hope, and
Mm.
every happy song to also recognize that it's not just always.
I'm gonna listen back to your songs with that in mind at some point because that's such a good tip.
Yeah.
Do you have like if you ever get stuck, either melodically or lyrically or anything, any ways of getting past that?
Um,
Do you ever get stuck? Because again, I think you have it all together all the time.
well, I
You're like,
well,
no, I don't.
I do a lot of co-writing,
Yeah.
and I think that is super helpful
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times we can be our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And we can throw away stuff that's really good.
Absolutely.
But if you're in a co-write, um, a lot of times the co-writer is the one who says, wait, what
Yep.
was that you just said? Or,
Yeah.
ooh, I like that thing you were just humming.
Yeah.
And the things are just flowing, and you
Totally.
might lose that
Mm-hmm.
completely
Because
if you.
it is a balance too within a song of I need to say the most ingenious image and metaphor that no one's ever heard before, or I need to say it pretty straight up here, very conversational, exactly what
Mhm.
needs to be said. And I feel like
Yeah.
that makes a song. Bob Garrett, one of my teachers from the songwriting school at one point, did you ever study with him?
No. Mm-mm.
I mean, he's written for Broadway, he's written a ton of things. And he was, I think, on Motown for a while. He said every song he writes, he needs to write one line that he feels like has never been said before, is one of the best lines he's ever written, and then he can just ease off the gas pedal a little bit. And
Uh-huh.
I thought,
Yeah,
like, I'd
yeah.
strive for more, of course, but it's a nice thing to
Right.
use as a barometer.
Well, I think it's a fine line.
Mm,
Like if your song is just completely full of imagery,
mm,
um, that can be so heady that it doesn't
mm,
connect emotionally.
totally.
But if it's all just telling emotions and
Mm-hmm,
there's no art in there,
mm,
sometimes that also leaves people cold. Like
totally.
there is a balance between um I guess like the poetry and then the keeping it real kind of thing.
I like that.
And the idea of having a balance between that, external and internal.
Hmm.
So, and actually, Pat Pattison also talks about
I
this a
have a
lot.
Pat Pattison quote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea being like, you have a line with maybe something that's imagery and then a feeling line.
Hmm.
and then that imagery helps inform the feeling line and makes the feeling line have more meaning.
Interesting. And it's not like an A, B, A, B, like
No,
swinging back and forth.
no.
No, it requires much more craft than that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's a balance.
the idea being that there's, like if you have a section that's not landing,
Mm.
look at it and see, is it all internal? I feel this, I feel that, I feel this, I feel that. Then maybe you want to see if you can put some external imagery in there.
Hmm.
Or if you have a section that's just all external and you're kind of like, well, okay, these are like beautiful pictures, but what's the point of this?
Yeah.
You need the point of it.
And then it hits,
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
It's like an
So
anchor.
so that's one of the things that I think is sort of a chiaroscuro thing too.
Mm.
Internal, external. Um, because you don't, if you're just talking about, well, I feel this, I feel this, like, who cares,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You haven't
That's
brought the
exactly what the
listener in at
listener would
all,
say. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, but if you're just painting a bunch of pretty pictures
Hmm.
and you're not sharing with the listener why you're painting those pictures and
Hmm.
what they mean,
You need
then
that vulnerability and that
that
undertone.
doesn't really land either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about melodically? So you're writing, when does the producer come in first? Sometimes you'll start a co-write and it'll just be instruments, right? And then sometimes you'll start with a producer. So does it depend on the song or just the situation of, hey, we booked a producer today?
Oh, it just depends on if who's part of the co-write.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love about co-writing is being able to play different roles in
Mm.
different rooms. I mean, now they're all Zoom rooms, but
Yeah.
back in the day, it's like sometimes, I mean, there's actually co-writes where, I'm the one who brings in the guitar riff, which is
Mm-hmm.
like bizarre to me because I'm not really, all that. But
Yeah. But you step
um,
up where you need to step up.
yeah, but
And that's
sometimes
what the
that's,
co-writers.
sometimes I'm the one who's holding down the chords. Sometimes I'm the one who's like, brings in the concept.
Mm.
Sometimes well, I always keep lines in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Lines
Sung
and
and written,
titles.
I'm assuming.
Pardon?
I said sung in voice memos and written in a note, I'm assuming as well, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do the voice memo thing, but a lot of times, I don't know. It's interesting. Voice memos I use a lot more now to document the writing process.
Hmm.
Um, and I always record ideas, and then I don't think I ever use them. Hardly ever.
Oh, no
Like it's
way.
very, very rare that I'll have like a melodic thing that I'm just humming into my phone
Huh.
that I end up bringing in to a session.
So how is there a certain way that it usually starts or is everyone different? Like do you always start with a title or a concept or with a melody, music or lyrics coming first?
Um, it is often different, but
Mm.
I would say more often than not, it starts with some kind of idea,
Hmm.
whether it's a title or a theme
Mm-hmm.
or a feeling
Mm.
or something. And then a lot of times, um, it can also, if we're working with a producer, like let's say to a brief,
Mm.
a lot of times the briefs have reference tracks.
Hmm.
So we'll listen to a reference track and the producer maybe will start creating something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we'll be top lining over it, just kind of riffing over it. If the song's already written and we're bringing a producer in, then a lot of times we already have ideas about,
Mm.
we want an intro, that sounds like this, or we're really loving this na-na section and we want to make like build a big bridge on it or something. So yeah, I think it's magic,
Mhm.
you
I think
know.
you have a
It's
great ear for production too, because I don't know, recently, not recently, maybe a year ago, I was on my fourth producer with one of my songs, Fight Like a Girl, and it was nothing that they were doing wrong. It was just I didn't feel, the vibe, and I couldn't
Yeah.
quite express it, and I didn't know who would nail it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that's my most successful song on Spotify, so it paid off. And the other versions are great, and maybe I'll release them someday. But I do think you have such a knack for putting production together with songs. Have you ever done that? Like been through multiple producers and just like, nah, Goldilocks in the whole way?
I've had a couple of songs where I had one producer and it didn't work out,
Yeah,
and then I went with a second producer. But I
that's
haven't
awesome.
I haven't had to do four, thank God.
Where do you get
And
your confidence from? It's a conversation that I love to have. Yeah, because I keep saying I feel like you're so confident, and I feel like it's so interesting to talk about confidence in songwriting and in life.
I don't know.
Have
Maybe it's a maybe
you
it's just,
always been a confident person, or is it something that has been built up over the years?
well, I think a big part of it is the years of feel the fear and do it anyway.
I have to repeat that to myself. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That is a very similar expression to someone that I admire greatly who said, I don't remember it because yours is so good. Feel the fear and do it
Well, it's not
anyway.
mine. It's not mine. I think there's a whole book on with that
Really?
title. But the idea being, and I actually have a song lyric about this. There's a
I would hope
song
so.
that I wrote with Tolan Shaw. Do you know Tolan?
Yeah. Well, I know him through Amy Felice because she just released a song with him.
Oh, Tolan is a fantastic artist,
Uh,
super prolific. And he and I wrote a song called Let's Go.
uh,
And
is it released?
yes,
Okay. I feel like I
it's,
have heard it or seen it.
and I want to pull up this lyric because, all right, worries try to hold us back,
Hmm.
but that's not where the good stuff's at. Way outside the comfort zone, that's where we choose to make our home.
Hmm.
Because easy never got me far, and standing still is twice as hard. And
Hmm.
here's the line: fear will try to steer sometimes, but us dreamers, we don't let it drive.
No, it's fantastic.
And so I think that's kind of the idea of feel the fear, do it anyway. I think what you what you learn after being around, on the planet for a while is that everybody has fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's the ones who push
and
past it.
and you just have to carry on, you
I was
know.
saying this to my 9-year-old niece the other day because I'm giving her voice lessons. And so I was talking to her about, okay, well, what do you feel when you get up there and all this stuff, and telling her, because I went through this period of performing where I didn't feel confident about the things I was singing. That was a big portion of why I felt terribly up there. But like someone could shift in their seat, and my thought would immediately be, oh my God, they hate me. They hate what I'm doing. I'm terrible. I shouldn't be up here. Like
Mm,
projecting that because I felt that I wasn't comfortable up there, and it took a
right,
lot
right.
of working past it.
Yeah,
But I said to my niece, everyone feels fear, and it comes from biologically. It comes from when we were chased by tigers, our ancestors were. And so we're
right.
hardwired to fear because it's trying to protect us. But it's the
Yeah.
people who push past it who are doing the things that make them happy and all of those things. So you're a
Yeah.
living, breathing example of it, as am I.
Well, and I also think reframing it helps.
Hmm.
So, people always ask me, do you get nervous before you
Mm-hmm.
perform? And I don't,
No.
because
Why?
I view it as energy.
Hmm.
There's adrenaline,
Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
excitement, um, but I don't want to call it
I
nerves or
like that.
nervousness. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I feel like that, I don't know, you kind of lose your power, you give away your power by your power over fear.
Hmm.
You have power over fear. I don't know. It
Yeah.
it just makes it easier for me to embrace it and just go, yeah,
Yep.
I'm nerved, but I'm not the kind of person who can like right before I go on stage, just be chit-chatting with people
Yeah.
and like, having a cocktail or whatever. That's just, I because I am focused,
Yeah.
and I have this energy and I feel like the day that I don't have that energy, then I probably should quit performing at that
Yeah.
point because you don't want to just be like, oh, oh
I mean,
God,
yeah, if you don't care, then please don't be up
I
there.
gotta play
Yeah.
again. You know,
Nobody wants to see that.
no, no, you don't want to be phoning it
Absolutely.
in or whatever.
But I used to be so dependent on what the external validation would give me, what the people were thinking in their seats. And now finally, I mean, I had a voice teacher, Joy Grayson. Have you ever worked with her?
I haven't worked with Joy, but I know who
Yeah,
she is.
you've
Yeah.
heard. But every lesson almost would be more of a like life coaching session. And I would be sitting there like, when are we going to sing? When are we going to sing? I'm paying to sing. But oh my gosh, it got me through, so much and just practicing and constantly doing it over and over again and realizing that I do have skills in that area, finally built that confidence up because when I
Yeah.
met you, I had been writing for 2 months, and I hadn't been performing at all forever. And I couldn't play piano, and I still kind of can't, but I do it and I get paid for it occasionally,
Yeah. Yeah.
So shocking to me.
Well, that's one of the things too, is,
Mm,
you know, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, like playing
mm,
piano for
yep.
myself and then guitar,
Yeah, and I've
you
seen you
know,
and it
and
doesn't look nerve-wracking.
I just had to, just, you have to do it. And I sucked at the beginning playing and singing, but I just made myself do it.
Yeah.
And after a while, it just, it's like this dream I had a long time ago. I actually dreamed that I was singing and playing the piano at like a party and entertaining people and just
Huh.
flowing, and it felt amazing. And now that is actually something I can do.
That's
But it
amazing.
took many, many months
Yeah.
of like dragging my piano to these different venues around LA, like doing 2 songs, 4 songs, maybe a set, a 45-minute set or something, whatever.
uh,
But and yeah, and now I'm perfectly comfortable doing it.
that's amazing. And it
It
just
took,
takes pushing past
yeah,
the fear and just doing.
yeah,
And it's funny, I worried uh, especially when I'm playing piano for myself, if I hit a wrong note, I don't want that to happen. And then it happens and nobody noticed. Nobody throws to me. Nobody kills
I
me
know,
because I hit like nothing bad happens. And
yeah,
so once that little hiccup happens and you're like, oh, okay, that's okay. And
yeah,
I've actually really admired when I've seen performers. The first time I played piano, Robbie Santos invited me to like this backyard show, and Mark Pico played, Daniel Blake played, I played, Robbie played, and I think that was it. Um, no, one other person. But I think it was Daniel Blake started playing, or maybe it was Mark, and then said, "Oh, this is the second verse. Okay, I'm going to start over." And he just launched right into it. And I was like, oh, wow. Like,
hmm,
he was just so professional. It didn't throw him. He admitted his mistake. It was so many impressive things all rolled into one. And it was so impressive. So I think like admitting that and being vulnerable and being a human being is the most impressive thing in
hmm,
the world.
yeah. Well, I think as long as you're not calling attention to it in a negative way. I mean, I have seen
Mm,
people on stage who are like, they hit a wrong note and then they make a face and they go,
mm,
sorry,
yeah.
into the mic. And all that does is draw attention
Yeah.
to it. And we might not have even noticed,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But half the
Yeah.
time the audience doesn't really, they're kind of listening, but they're also
Mm-hmm.
like checking out the hot whatever
Yeah.
girl or guy.
Thinking about
Um,
dinner later. Yeah.
they're
Is that
thinking
just my
about
internal monologue?
whatever. I mean, they're thinking about a whole lot of other things. They're
Yeah.
not going to notice that you sang a wrong word or that you repeated the same line twice because you couldn't remember the
Yeah.
lyric or whatever. As long as you are acting like everything's fine,
Mm-hmm.
the audience will feel comfortable.
Absolutely. Have you ever bussed or street performed?
Mm, not as a singer-songwriter. I did
Uh,
it with gospel, like we used to
Mm.
do sometimes little, more, it was more like caroling though,
Yeah.
with the gospel choir, small groups.
That's so fun.
But yeah, it's interesting. I lived in Santa Monica for a long time, so I would always
Mm.
go to the promenade and I would see the people performing. And I remember seeing Andy Grammer out there.
No way.
And I saw him more than once. He was
Ah.
kind of a regular out there. And this is before, anybody knew who he was. And I remember thinking, this guy's really good.
Ah. That's amazing that you remember him.
Oh, yeah, he was memorable.
Wow.
He was very memorable. He was really,
Wow.
really good.
That is saying something.
Yeah.
Right before we moved to Kansas, I performed on the promenade. I performed in Palisades Park in Santa Monica for like a small group of, not small, but like people came to see me on purpose. And then other people were walking by. And it was so much fun because I'm obsessed with being outdoors and I'm obsessed with performing. So why did I never put those two things together? And then I had a day where I went and bussed on the promenade.
Uh-huh.
And that was so fun and incredible, you know? And then I was like, why was I not doing this the whole 9 years that I was living here?
Yeah.
But alas. And now I did it a couple times in Kansas City. And now I'll do it all over the whole country because I don't know if I'm going to feel safe to perform inside venues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only done a couple of indoor gigs
Yeah.
since this COVID thing happened, and one of them was just last Sunday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Um, I perform at Centers for Spiritual Living and
Oh.
Unity churches a lot of
Mm,
times on Sundays.
that's
And
nice.
so I get invited to perform, it's all my original music.
Mm,
Um, and Center for Spiritual Living in Simi Valley has a great house band. So
nice.
they learn my songs and it's really fun.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Your
And
songs would be perfect for that. They're very inspirational. I mean, I just keep thinking back to that nurse saying to you, God had a plan for you, because I'm sure you've inspired so many people with your words and music.
well,
Do you
thank
get
you.
messages like that all the time from people? Sorry, my dog is scratching at a door somewhere.
Oh, pup,
No.
pup.
She's trying to make her debut. You've seen her before. But you must get inspirational or thank you messages all the time from people that you've inspired.
I get a few messages.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always very, very touching and
Yeah.
validating and
Yeah.
you
And
know
that's why it's our job. Okay, so that brings me to my latest favorite conversation about marketing because I feel like a year ago I was just like, "Oh my God, marketing is the most important thing. It's the way, I wish I had had a degree in marketing." So, are you doing anything like you get your songs on shows? That's a big way to reach an audience, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Is there anything else you're doing? Are you like really focusing on getting your songs on playlists when you release them?
um I haven't been.
Yeah.
The only playlist that uh we've really been, like, Seventh and Hope songs have been getting on, and now Mate Mate, this the Queen Boss thing,
Oh, okay.
are for shows.
Mm.
And those tend to really introduce your music to a lot of people. And
That's
we've gotten a lot
fantastic.
of followers on Spotify and I
Mm.
think on social media and stuff too, just from being in shows because
That's huge. And
people
Mate
choose.
Mate now is that another group that you've
Yeah, so that's a
formed?
it's a project that the Queen Boss song is under Monte
Oh,
Monte.
okay. Is it you and a couple other women all together in
It's
a
well,
trio or?
It's Duddy as the producer,
Okay.
and then the two songs that we've released under the Mate Mate name
Mm.
are both songs that we wrote in Hawaii at
Mm.
the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. So one of them, and it's funny because they both kind of have royalty in their
Ha.
titles.
Hey.
So one of them is Queen Boss,
Nice.
which is Kaylana is the artist, and she goes by Queen K. She has like an
Nice.
alter ego,
Huh.
her rapper name.
Nice.
So that's Mate Mate featuring Queen K.
Mm.
And that, as I mentioned before, was me, Duddy, Nitani, and Kaylana,
Nice.
co-writers. And then the other song is called Good to Be King.
Oh, nice.
And that was the same co-writers, except it's featuring Tim Rose as
Huh.
the fourth songwriter. So it was
Nice.
Duddy, me, Knee to Knee, and then Tim Rose. And he's singing lead and playing the guitars
Hmm.
on that one.
How do
And
you
that's
decide what goes to like Seventh and Hope and what goes to you and what goes to Mate Mate? Is it just who's in the room or hey, this vibe fits
it's
our
mostly
combos?
who's writing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we decided to release those songs under Mate Mate because both Tim and Kaylana have artist projects that don't sound anything like these songs,
Gotcha, gotcha.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it wouldn't have made sense to release them under their artist names.
Mm.
But they could be a feature,
Mm.
on another project. And so we
Interesting.
just we just started the Mate Mate project just with that name. We have some other songs that haven't been released.
Mm.
And they're all at this point, everything in Mate Mate is stuff that's been produced by Duddy.
Hmm.
So
Mate
that's
mate
kind of
as
like,
in the drink?
yeah.
Is that
So
it? Someone
we
is drinking
named
it?
it that because um, Duddy, I don't know if he's still drinking mate like constantly, but um, I was always joking with him that he should get like a brand sponsorship
And now that you're using it as an artist name, yeah.
because
Get
of
that
the amount
endorsement.
of mate that we were drinking.
Hmm.
But it's really an amazing drink. I think it's like it's not really caffeine exactly, but it gives you energy,
Huh.
and I just love it. So yeah, so we just decided, well, what the
We
heck?
had to
Let's
say it
just
twice.
name the band after this. And so yeah, so that's what we did with that project. But I have another project called Jacoby,
Hmm.
and we've done that's with Mike Avename, who's a fantastic drummer and producer and musical director, multi instrumentalist,
Hmm.
really talented guy, and a singer who is here in LA but is originally from South Africa.
Hmm.
And his name is Sean Jacobs.
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, the three of us wrote and produced, I think, a 6-song EP online. So I've
Wow.
never met Sean, even though he lives in Santa Monica.
How did you guys find each other?
Well, Mike had worked with Sean,
Oh, okay.
and I had worked with Mike before on another project and also hired him to produce. He's done some stuff with Seventh and Hope, some
Hmm.
beautiful songs, and some big rock type songs too.
Hmm.
Um, so he was like, let's do a project
Hmm.
because he would, normally he's touring, he's like MDing all kinds of stuff, and during the pandemic last summer, we were all locked down,
Wow.
so we did this project, and we've had a few syncs. We haven't released any of the music though, which
Hmm.
I really want to do. Um, but that's totally rock. Like that's like Imagine Dragons meets
Oh,
Black Keys. It's Sean's an awesome singer.
that's incredible.
Um, he's a great producer too. He and Mike are great producers. And so that's one project. And so basically, anything that the three of us write together is part of that project.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then stuff that Betty and I write, with whether it's just the two of us or with co-writers, at least so far, we haven't really ever written anything that wasn't for us
Hmm.
as Seventh and Hope. So
Got
basically,
it.
if we're writing and it's me and Betty,
Hmm.
unless we're like writing for somebody else's artist project, I don't think we've ever done that. I think
Hmm.
everything we've done, we've done for ourselves.
It makes sense. You'd want to take ownership over it. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering or will be wondering. So how do you find the opportunities that you get on these TV shows? I know you and I go to conferences.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. So almost everything that I write is signed to some kind of licensing representation.
Hmm.
So, and that's how most of the placements happen.
Hmm.
A few of the placements happen because of, I meet a music supervisor at um, a conference, pitch them a song, and then they'll hit up the music licensing agency and license it through them.
Oh, they still go to the agency for that.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah,
Because I know some
usually.
people have different, some people are like, if I have the connection with the music supervisor, they'll just come to them.
Well, I think some music supervisors feel more comfortable dealing directly with artists and some don't.
Yeah, which I would understand.
Yeah, and all it takes is for an artist to not clear something properly
Yeah,
once, and then the supervisor's going to be like, "Yeah, I'd rather deal with your agent."
understandably so,
So,
yeah. Or maybe never deal with
so
you again. So that's
I
where it
mean,
falls.
for me,
Yeah,
I'm a former litigator and lawyer, so
yeah.
like,
I would think you'd
there's
be able
no
to.
risk that I'm
Yeah,
gonna not have my contracts all,
absolutely.
signed and have the splits and no, otherwise I'm
Yeah,
not pitching it.
yeah,
If for whatever reason I don't have my paperwork together, I'm not going to pitch the song.
totally.
But I feel like, music supervisors, they don't necessarily know that I used to be a lawyer or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a fair point.
They still usually go through the agency. And
Interesting.
then most of the time the opportunities come because the agency's pitching it.
Hmm.
That's how most of the placements happen for me.
That's a great position to be in.
So,
And I
and
guess if you were doing that, you would want to do that. Like, did you ever think of opening your own licensing company?
yeah, all the
Yeah,
time.
many, many times.
Yeah, but I had a company
Mm.
before I was a songwriter. And the reason Greg and my husband and I, started our company,
Mm.
um, which was a litigation support company, we were
Wow.
doing legal tech services
Wow.
for law firms. The reason we started that company was because we both wanted to have more time to pursue our art. Okay,
Huh.
I wanted to have more time to sing.
Mm.
Um, I had a jazz trio. I was in another band. I was singing with the gospel choir. I want to have more time to do music.
Hmm.
And Greg wanted to have more time to work on screenplays and making movies.
Oh, wow.
And what we found with that business is the business took off and we had less and less and less and less time for our artistic pursuits, to the
Yeah.
point where basically I wasn't really gigging except once a month and with the
Hmm.
choir, by the end of it.
It's tough when you're good at something and
And
other people
so,
recognize it, and then yeah.
yeah, so my big hesitation with starting a licensing company is that I'll get really caught up in the admin. There's so much admin I'm doing
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
even without a licensing company, even without representing other artists.
Yeah.
And then I'll have all these other artists who want me to do this and that for them.
Totally.
And I'll be doing less and less of my own music. And I'm
Yeah.
just, I know it makes sense to have my own licensing agency. It makes absolute perfect
But
sense
not
to
if it
do
doesn't
it.
bring you joy, because I've gotten that too. And again, I'm not nearly as, experienced in you as this, but I thought about it and then I let it drop and then I thought
Yeah.
about it again. And then I
Well,
even like had some conversations, but then I realized, no, that's not what I enjoy doing. And if there are people
yeah.
who enjoy that, yay, let them do what they enjoy.
Well, so, we have some mutual friends who have like sort of consortiums where
Mm,
there's like three or four singer-songwriters and they've come together and created a company.
yeah.
And I mean, that's an idea,
Mm,
so that it's not just all me.
yeah. It's a lot of
Um,
responsibility.
yeah, so that might, that's maybe we should talk about that,
Hey,
bringing a
I'm
couple
on
people
board.
on and
Here we go.
starting
Talk
something. You
about
never know.
it.
You heard it here first,
Hey.
folks.
Don't you tempt me. It's like that time I joked to a friend that I was going to have a throuple. That's a whole different conversation. But she was like, don't you tempt me. And I was like, how serious are we?
Oh my goodness.
I went there. Didn't think I would.
Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so I have thought
It's
about
always
it,
a
but I've
possibility.
been afraid,
Hmm.
that it would take over my life.
I get that. And you have to protect your time and your
Yeah,
energy and all of them.
yeah,
Put up boundaries and walls.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you don't, other people would love to come on in there and crash them down, right?
Yeah.
Take the time. You're smart to do it. Well, when you're so multi-talented, I'm sure it's, there's a lot of tempting things in life that you're like, I could try that. I could try that.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much why I quit practicing law.
Yeah.
And to answer your very earlier question, like did I ever have any pushback about leaving the law? I did. I had
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Well, why would you, put all that um to waste, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
For a
wasting
waste.
the 3 years of law school and all the years, I put into practicing law and then running the company." And it's like, well, it's sort of like, do you want to throw good money after bad? Like,
Mm.
um, you know, okay, so I invested X number of years. Does that mean I have to invest the rest of my life in this career that I no longer want to do? Like,
It's the
no.
sunk cost phenomenon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um,
Well, you're better for it and you're never going back, I'm assuming.
oh, yeah, I don't think it'd be possible. I am still on inactive status with the
Oh,
bar. So if I ever, for whatever reason, needed
just
to
craving law.
reactivate my law degree, I could. I would
Mm.
have to do a lot of continuing education courses and, things like that, but I could reactivate
Hmm.
without having to take the bar exam again,
Well, hopefully you
But
won't.
yeah. So, and I pay dues every year for the privilege of like keeping that door
Yeah.
open.
You're never going to need it.
I
You're
know.
always going to be on the right side of your screen and the left side of your screen. I love how it's the piano and the guitar. All right. Well, anything, I know you have your song that just came out, The Season of Us, that
Yes.
just came out for Seventh and Hope. And what are any upcoming projects that we'd like to promote?
Well, Seventh and Hope has a couple of placements coming up.
Nice.
Um, we've got a song coming out. Let me see here. December 15th, there's a Netflix show coming out. I gotta look at
Wow.
look at my spreadsheet and
It's funny
see.
when I was just thinking when we started talking in the beginning, wow, Patricia's spreadsheets must be something incredible. You must be so organized.
Well, I don't know. It's just I can't. I don't have the greatest memory, so
I
I have to
understand
write
that.
everything down.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so
December
oh,
15th.
actually, I forgot to mention this. This is so exciting. Okay,
All
so
right.
Seventh and Hope, we just got our first international commercial.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So
Can you say who it's for?
there's a university in Europe. I think it's mostly UK, but it's in other countries as well.
Mm,
Called Arden University,
nice.
and they have licensed our song "Born for This" for a
Nice.
year-long commercial.
I love that song.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And so that's coming out any day now. It's going to be
Ooh.
sometime in December.
Ooh.
And then also,
This won't be released until 2023. Is that the year we're going to? No, 2022. I keep doing that.
ooh,
I just keep skipping over the year 2022 for some reason.
um,
2022 is what we're heading into.
yes, we are heading into 2022. Amazing. And then our song, I Got You, is going to
Ooh.
be on a new Netflix show. It's actually not new. I think it's season 2 of a show called Love is Blind.
Oh, I know Love is Blind. That's awesome.
And then we have something coming out on, it's our song Hello. And it's
Nice.
coming out on a Netflix show called The Circle.
Amazing.
And
That's a
that's, I
very
think,
successful show.
season 4.
Woo!
So
Two
that's,
seasons
and
too.
yeah. And then Queen Boss has just, which is a Mate Mate song that we were
Nice.
just talking about. That is in Selling Sunset episode
Nice.
403.
Woo! Well,
And
everybody keep your ears peeled, open, hearing for all of the Seventh and Hope, Mate Mate, and Patricia Bahia
yeah,
original songs in all of these shows. Thank you so much for
yeah,
chatting with me. It's really,
you
it
bet.
felt so nice to like, I don't know, have heart to hearts and like get to know you even better. So it really meant a lot to chat today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks for having me.
you. Uh-huh.